The title of our lesson today is Using Negative Numbers to Make Sense of Context. We have two learning targets. Number one, I can interpret and use negative numbers in different contexts, and I can explain and use negative numbers in situations involving money. So previously we've talked about negative numbers in terms of temperature and elevation. One of the other most common ways we think about negative numbers is when we talk about money. So if we look at this Notice and Wonder chart entitled It Comes and Goes, we can see a table broken up into two columns. The left column talks about different activities, and the right column talks about money. If you haven't already, make sure that at this point you complete your Notice and Wonder chart. So here's mine. I'm anticipating some things that you guys might have noticed. Some amounts are positive, some are negative, and each activity has a price. I think I'm noticing that this looks like money to me. And I wonder, why are there negative numbers? What do you think? So, do my chores is $30 positive. What happens when you do your chores? Typically, right, if you're lucky, your parents pay you when you do your chores. So if you look at the different things that seem like jobs, doing chores or babysitting, the amounts are positive. So you are gaining money. And then for the things that say that you buy, typically when you buy something, you lose money because you're spending money. So after you buy something, you'll have less money than before. So this person spent $10.80 on lunch and $18.69 on a shirt. So that represents them losing money. And then, of course, petting your dog, one of the simple joys in life, is free. So that didn't change their money at all. So let's look at the next page. This page is called the concession stand. It says the manager of the concession stand keeps records of all the supplies she buys and all of the items she sells. The table shows some of her records for Tuesday. So at this point, why don't you try and, if you haven't already, complete this page independently and then resume this video to check your work. I have a strong feeling that you guys can probably answer these questions without watching the video. So now, which items did she sell? So we have three columns here. We have the name of the item, the quantity, so the amount of that item that she had, and then the value in dollars. So if you sell something, will you be gaining an item or losing an item? And if you sell something, will you be gaining money or losing money? So if I sold you a t-shirt, I would have one less t-shirt. So my quantity of t-shirts would go down, but I would be receiving money from you. So my value in dollars would go up. So which items did she sell? Donuts. Because her number of donuts that she had went down, and you can see that she gained money for it. So donuts, hot dogs, apples, and French fries are the items that she sold, right? So, and the reason how we know the quantity went down and her money went up. So if you sell something, you'll have less of that item, but you'll get more money from the sale. So how can we interpret negative 58 in this situation? I look back at my table for that number. I see that it's right here. It's the donuts and the quantity. That's how many donuts she sold. How can we interpret negative 10 and 35 hundredths in this situation? So I see that that's related to straws. And in that situation, the quantity of straws went up. So she got more, but her money went down. So what must she have done? That probably means that she bought 3,000 straws, and she had to spend $10.35 on them. So she bought 3,000 straws for $10.35. Right? Because if you own a business, you have to spend money to make money, right? She has to buy certain things so she can sell them or use them in her shop later. So she's not always just making money, right? Like if you own a store, you can't just only sell things. You also have to have a stock. You also need to purchase items to sell or just to supply your customer with, right? Straws are free. However, your customers are going to expect them. So that is something that she just has to pay for to have in her concession stand. And on which item did she spend the most amount of money? So when I look at money, I see that 132 is the biggest amount of money. So is that the item that she spent the most amount of money on? It's actually not. Because did she spend money on those French fries? Or did she gain money on those French fries? It's positive, so she actually gained money. She didn't spend anything for those fries. She made money on the fries. So what did she spend the most money on? Was her pizza. She spent the most on pizza. Because she bought 13 pizzas for $116.87. So her money went down because of that. Okay. So on to the next page. So once again, I feel really confident that you guys can complete this page without these notes. So I want you to go ahead right now and pause this video to fill out and answer these questions independently, and then resume the video to check your work as I go over it. So in this situation, we're talking about drinks for sale. A vending machine in an office building sells bottled beverages. The machine keeps track of all changes in the number of bottles from sales and from machine refills and maintenance. This record shows the changes for every 5-minute period over 1 hour. So what might a positive number mean in this context? What about a negative number? So once again, if we look at the two columns, we have time and number of bottles. So like they said, these are all 5-minute intervals of time. And the number of bottles are constantly changing. Sometimes there's minus, sometimes there's negative numbers, sometimes there's positive numbers. So if the number of bottles increases, what do you think that means? So positive numbers are when they restock the bottles. Right? Once again, every night or something at a vending machine, someone from Coke or whatever comes by and refills the vending machine, so there will be stock, or there will be some more amount of Coke tomorrow for people to buy. And so negative numbers in this context represent someone buying a drink, right? Once again, if I go to a vending machine and buy a drink, after I walk away, that vending machine now has one less bottle in it because I took one, I bought one. So what would a 0 in the second column mean in this context? So in the second column, 0, that would mean no one bought anything. And nothing was restocked. Which numbers, positive or negative, result in fewer bottles in the machine? So, once again, kind of makes sense, right? Negative numbers. Because negative has a subtraction sign, right? So if you take something away, that's negative. So that would give you fewer bottles. At what time was there the greatest change to the number of bottles in the machine? How did that change affect the number of remaining bottles in the machine? So, looking which number is the biggest, whether it's positive or negative, 24 seems to be the biggest. So, from 850 to 854, someone restocked, meaning added positive 24 bottles to the machine. That was the greatest change that we can see. At which time period, 805 to 809 or 825 to 829, was there a greater change to the number of bottles in the machine? So, here they added 12 bottles, and here they subtracted 12 bottles. So, the change in number of bottles was actually equal in those time slots. Right? So we have plus 12 and minus 12. So as far as just like how much changed, an equal amount changed. One change was positive and one was negative, but still, given the distance of how much was in the machine at the time, that change is equal. So the machine must be emptied to be serviced. If there are 40 bottles in the machine when it is to be serviced, what number will go in the second column in the table? So it must be emptied. So if there are 40 bottles and it needs to be emptied, then you would need to take out all 40 bottles. So negative 40 would go in the second column, because you are taking away or subtracting all 40 bottles. That would be a negative change. Alright. Flip over our lesson summary. So, important to note, sometimes we represent changes in a quantity with positive and negative numbers. If the quantity increases, the change is positive. If it decreases, the change is negative. So here's a couple of awesome examples to read, just to kind of reinforce this idea, and make sure to type your big ideas in the box. And there they are right there. Once again, positive numbers, if it's positive, you're adding things. It's a gain or an increase of a quantity. Negative numbers always represent a loss or a decrease of a certain quantity.